Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I'm TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given. Joined as always by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing really good, TJ. I have a new job starting Thursday. I'm not taking any break, but it's very easy your last couple of days at a job that you're leaving. It's absolutely wonderful. I wish every day was like this.
Yeah. It's kind of like, the last couple weeks of school and how great those are. You're just like, you have a few finals to take here and there, and you're just kind of chilling and vibing. No real responsibilities. It's just pretty great. Work is a lot like that. You're heading out the door.
That is exactly what it feels like. Exactly. Because you're just like goofing off with your buddies. You can say things to your teacher that you can't usually say during the school year, but what are they going to do? It's summer's coming, so they don't got power of you anymore.
Nope. My last final was taken 4 days ago. Good luck doing anything to me. It's like, what's going on, Kyle? Oh, they changed the format here. Congrats on your new. Yeah, enjoy your new job, John.
Much bigger now.
Yeah, it's huge. That's what she said. But Kyle. Yeah, when I went to a private Christian school growing up, and I guess that's not important to the story, but the Christmas break, like the week before Christmas break, was always my favorite because we would just kind of chill out and study hall. They bring a TV in there and play Christmas movies all day long. And so if you didn't have a final, you could go watch Christmas movie. We play games and stuff and just kind of vibe out. I miss those days. We would also do March Madness. At my school, we would have like in the break area, they had a TV running March Madness games all the time. And we have these, the pools you do with the filling out the brackets and everything. I mean, there was no gambling. I don't think they let us gamble on it. Not officially. We could do it amongst your friends, whatever. But those are like little moments like that. You kind of love that about school.
I honestly miss school. I know a lot of people hate school, but I was a big school fan. I did good. My teachers loved me. If you were just like, you could be a little shit as long as like you participated in class and you got good grades. Like I always found that it was very easy to get away with whatever I wanted, but maybe that's just me. I had a lot of good times back in high school.
I fucking hated school. I went, got grade school, middle school, high school, college, grad school, hated it all. I hated school. I was good at it. Well, I was okay at it eventually, but yeah, I was never, when I was in college, I remember hearing a lot of people saying how much they missed high school. I was not one of those people. I couldn't stand it, but I went to kind of a awful school. Huge ass asked, did George Soros formally hire you? He has not, unless he's paying John and not telling me. I mean, he is racist after all. So I don't know. John, when does this happen? When is George Soros finally shelling us out some money?
George Soros, he sent us like 50 cents the other day. So I'm pretty sure the rest of it's coming. George Soros, if you're out there listening, this is our Q&A show. So if any of you have any questions not related to my employment, we'd be happy to answer them as well. A lot of shit going on in the news, TJ. It has been a rough week for me. I don't know about you, but how have you been feeling?
Yeah, it's been pretty rough. I don't know if you saw that video of those guys that Trump sent to El Salvador. Did you see the video about that?
I did not see the video, mostly because I've been staying away from the video content.
It's rough.
My insanity.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I'll be sharing the downer stuff. Did you see the title of today's episode that I created?
I did, and I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, I did see this headline, but I didn't read the article. So,
all right.
I would love to. Honestly, I feel like any of these, I don't feel like human intelligence has declined. Like without reading the data, without seeing anything, I feel like it's one of those things where, and I've always said this, we see a lot more stupid people than we used to, and so we feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, I can't imagine human intelligence isn't massively greater than it was even 40 years ago.
Yeah.
We've just gotten better at shit.
All right, we'll get to that. We'll get that. I'll have that ready. Hugh Jazz says, I'll probably have some questions tomorrow. What's going on?
Hugh loves asking us questions not during our Tuesday.
Yeah. What's going on there? I'm curious. Well, I don't know. So today, last I checked, this hadn't happened, but today was supposed to be the day that Trump released the JFK files. Did you see that he said he was going to do that today?
Oh, I didn't see that. He said he was going to do that. I imagine he didn't, though. If I was to wager a guess, TJ.
Yesterday, I saw a video of him talking, saying, well, he said two things, two separate videos. First video, they were asking about the Epstein files, and he said that, yes, eventually we're going to get to releasing the rest of those. We're also going to be releasing the MLK and JFK files. What people really want to see are the JFK files. That's the one people really care about. And then later that day, this wasn't an interview. He was just talking to the press, and he said, we'll be releasing all the JFK files today, the 18th of March, and it's going to be 80,000 documents. And they asked him, so is there an executive summary included in here that, the findings? He says, no, I'm not going to write a summary. We'll release it and you guys can write the summary about it, which I thought that was funny. But yeah, as of like an hour ago, when I last checked, I hadn't seen Trump releasing. I'm sure this won't be a massive embarrassment and disappointment, just like the Epstein files were, but we'll see what happens.
It's funny because, like, while I very much don't think he'll ever release the Epstein files, full again. I offer this bet to people, or if he's never going to release the fully unredacted Epstein files with a client list on it. It is never going to happen because he's on the list. So and even if you think he personally isn't, I can give the benefit of the doubt. Some of his buddies are 100% guaranteed. So there's no way that's actually going to happen. The JFK files, he might do that. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it would behoove him to make the government look evil, or the previous government that he's trying to destroy and implement a new good government.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. Actually, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be flabbergasted the way I would if he released the Epstein files.
What does Zeke have to say? Is the word socialism still taboo? I feel like whenever it gets brought up, it gets automatically dunked on. What do I mean by this? What do I mean? What I mean is, John, what do you think about that? Should we stay away from the S word?
We should. I want to finish what he had to say here, though. I want to know his specific, because he said, what I mean by this is that I'm going off the Ontario elections. They went with Ford, the far right. Then we had, I guess, the Liberal Party, and then we got the Green Party with Mike. During the debate, he was my favorite. Yeah, I can't speak too much on the Ontario elections, given that I'm not Canadian. But I think socialism is becoming a much less dirty word. I still don't necessarily think it is the word to galvanize a movement behind, but maybe this is just because I see it more, but over the past like 5 or so years, like in the 2020s, I feel like people are self-describing as socialist way more than ever before.
Yeah, I don't know. I was on the train of trying to lighten up the word a bit, and I just don't know if now it's working. I just the climate of the environment doesn't seem susceptible to it. There are certain swaths of the population, and honestly, like our bubble obviously is, and people we know and the folks that can be moved, but I still think there's more than enough people to scare folks away from even considering socialism and thinking that, oh, this means a guy wearing a weird beret and a curly mustache is going to come gun down your family. That's what socialism is, like fascism with them. They assume it just means bad. So if you don't have to use it, I would say don't use it. But if you want to, you're fine. Whatever. Who knows now? I mean, I was wrong about this election. And so, yeah, who knows? I'm not the one to ask, I guess. All right. What does Kyle say here? My advisor in undergrad studied intelligence tests, and I administered them often. People are incentivized to take longer, but that lowers scores. Interesting. What does Mark say here? Hey, kids, how's it going? Socialism is not a bad word anymore. Oh, how's that going? Well, I know
Mark is going to agree with that.
I think it is.
The thing. Like, if you're going to be like an intelligent, like, communicator and going to talk about these topics, you can't consider socialism to be a bad word. It is. You can disagree on the merits of socialism, but there's nothing morally wrong about the concept, at least to any extent that you wouldn't also apply it to capitalism. Like, that's one of those things that annoy me when people who should know better treat it as a pejorative.
Well, I think Mark is saying that, like, is it a bad word as in will it win the general public over? I don't think that. Yeah, and
maybe I'm misconstruing.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Mark there that it's not. That was not the time. Let's see. Socialism is a dirty word so long as politicians keep demonizing it rather than normalizing it as they have normalized fascism. I agree. I think that, like, the well has been poisoned with socialism for a long time. I mean, over 100 years, honestly. That I tip my cap to the capitalists that they have convinced people that workers controlling the means of production is a terrible thing. You need a king running your workplace, that, what he says goes, and you have no say in how your business, like something that is your full livelihood. No, you don't get a vote in this. You show up and you do what you're fucking told. That is freedom. That is the essence of freedom right there. Great work for 100 years convincing people. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, and so this kind of brings me to related topic in that we need a left-wing Tea Party right now. I think that we can all agree that the currents are brewing on that one. And my problem, TJ, and I've been cooking this noodle for a while. I don't know what to call it. Like, the Tea Party was such a perfect name.
Yeah.
That it's hard to top that name. It is. I always hate to give it to the Republicans, but they're better at naming shit than we are. And Tea Party was fantastic. Have you given any thought on what you could name a left-wing populist movement within the Democratic Party?
No, I haven't. And this is funny you mentioned this. So when the Tea Party came out, and I don't know, 2010, I think, something around there was when the Tea Party would have really first blossomed. For those of you who don't remember, because it was a long time ago, if you really think about that, the Tea Party was a grassroots movement started by far-right conservatives. Basically think what every conservative is right now. That's what the Tea Party was 15 years ago, but that was not the norm. Like, your average conservative was much more like Mitt Romney or Jeb Bush than Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, which was new back then. And the Tea Party was in reference, as you probably guessed, to the Boston Tea Party, but it also stood for TEA, taxed enough already. It was perfect. Like, it was perfect. It blended everything. Yeah, it was great. It harkened back. And then it also, this is the problem. Oh, sorry. Well, I'll get to real quick that the Democrats did try to start a Tea Party right around that time because they saw how successful it was. They called it the Coffee Party. I kid you not. They called it the Coffee Party. Lame as fuck. Just as boring as you would have imagined. And I don't think a left-wing Tea Party can actually work because the Tea Party, first and foremost, is built on wild delusion. It's built on a house of cards of conspiracy and racism and mythology. And like they love dressing up in their Ben Franklin hats, like wearing their tri-corner caps and waving the flag and dressing like the founders. It was cosplay. It was like look at January 6th. Those folks are having fun. They are wearing fun costumes. They are, chilling out with the bros and everything. And it goes into the fantasy that the founding of the nation was built because they were upset that the common man was paying high taxes too high. Just absolute delusion. So I don't know a left-wing version of that. There's conspiracy theories work very well with Republicans, flat earth shit and Pizzagate and global warming isn't real. Evolution is an unproven theory. Conspiracy theories are the heart of the movement, and it doesn't really work as well with the left.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing: like, you can do that. The thing is, our conspiracy theories are real. It's not like an eat the rich ethos would work to galvanize people behind that singular message. I don't think you need to be talking about Marxist revolution and economic theory. Like, you can get a pretty simple message of fuck those rich assholes for people to get behind. It's basically the same message as Tea Party, except with different stories. There's just the difference is that our stories are real. I disagree that it couldn't happen. What I disagree with is, or what I question is, we don't have a galvanizing force right now. Like, we don't have anyone to coalesce around. I'm really actually surprised no one has stepped up and just put their knee on Chuck Schumer's throat. Because the political capital be gained from cooing Chuck Schumer is massive.
Chuck Schumer.
And the losses are what? Like, what exactly? Who's going to be upset at you or primary you for fucking trying to kill Chuck Schumer? And I mean that in a political sense. Right. Like, the crown has never been weaker. And I don't understand why no one is just taking the bull by the horns and running with it.
Well, first, I want to address your conspiracy theory thing, is that, yes, some conspiracy theories are real, of course, but they aren't the fun ones, right? Like getting around and saying that JFK Jr. is going to come back, or, there's the moon landing didn't happen. Like, the stuff that really motivates those folks, they're fun, like crazy cartoon stories. Ours of our conspiracy theories aren't even conspiratorial. It's like, oh yeah, it's the Illuminati, but right in front of your face. Like, there's no cabal of rich people operating things behind the scenes. They're actually doing it right in front of the scenes, right in front of you. And maybe workers should have a say in this and not just the elite. Yeah, okay, but that's not as fun. I think that's what we fall behind on. But when you mentioned we have no one to coalesce around, they didn't either. Like the
idea
the idea that Trump would have been, made king in the Tea Party would have been insanity to them back in 2010. They would have never imagined that just 6 years later they'd have Donald Trump. So yeah, it's kind of like, I think that these plans to like boycotts, we're gonna talk about the Tesla boycott and everything, or boycotts, or trying to anoint a leader. I don't think you can plan for it or pick someone out. It just happens. Like the Tesla boycott works because everyone kind of realized, oh, fuck Elon Musk. Like, that guy's a piece of shit. I'm not going to do anything for him. But all of these don't shop on February 28th or boycott Chick-fil-A, that stuff doesn't work, because if you have to talk people into your movement, it's not going to happen. People have to just buy into it themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that. Red Scare Claire suggested, fuck those rich assholes party, F-Trap. We're directionally correct here, but F-Trap, just what do I get from F-Trap? Like, F-Trap doesn't say anything to me. It sounds like, I don't even know what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like a political movement. Skylar, watching over on TikTok, because I'm streaming this on my TikTok now. He had a great comment, said they don't want to be in Chuck Schumer's spot. They want him to take the heat for doing nothing. And goddamn, it's a pretty accurate statement of what the Democrats are right now. I mean, that's literally kind of what Hakeem Jeffries came out and said today. He's like, yeah, he's taking shots for doing the right thing, which is maybe, we haven't even fucking talked. Wait, was that whole thing last Friday? Jesus Christ.
I know, we didn't talk about it. I know, because it happened on, right.
God, I can't, I literally, I've been talking about this with you, assuming that we talked about this. Right. Like, no, we last talked on Thursday. So much shit has gone down. That was devastating.
Yeah, I know.
Even if I can actually get behind the argument that shutting down the government would have been more bad than good. I can totally have that conversation, because I'm not entirely certain about it. But what I do know is that if the Republicans wanted to shut down the government, they could have done it. So why wouldn't they have just done that? And B, why wasn't this fucking communicated beforehand? Like, this obviously wasn't a coordinated plan. So that's the thing that none of the Democrats in leadership are actually addressing, as to why it fucking went down this way and got us all ready for a government shutdown, and then they back down. They just look weak as shit. And I can't imagine, even if that is your argument, that we wanted to avoid the shutdown, the way you went about it was the worst possible way imaginable.
Yeah, and why didn't the House Democrats seem to agree on this? The House Democrats seem to be of a different idea, like the House that actually controls the purse. They thought it was an insane idea. Hakeem Jeffries did his job. He got every Democrat other than one voted against the CR. And Chuck Schumer said, no, actually, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to have 8 of my guys, go along with it. It's kind of insane. Kyle says the left has an inherent problem. The left is anti-authoritarian. How can we organize people who want to be independent? How do you give orders to people who hate orders? Look, you can say, I don't think that's totally accurate. A bunch of the right would say the same thing, that they don't like being told what to do as well. And the left will fall in line or fall in love. I just look at Obama. You don't want to say Obama's on the left, fine, but a movement like that where people are excited to vote for someone, the Sanders movement, you can't do it. I don't think it's impossible. Mark says TJ misrepresented the Tea Party there. It did work. Eric Cantor lost his seat. Ted Cruz was elected and tried to stop Obamacare by shutting down the government, which went poorly. This is a funny comment, Mark. You said that I'm misrepresenting the Tea Party because you're misrepresenting me. Not one time did I say the Tea Party didn't work. I mean, it obviously did. We're here with the second term of Donald Trump, who is like the incarnation of the Tea Party. I have no idea why you thought.
Yeah, you're saying it went poorly, but it seems like it did not go poorly to me. Like it went poorly maybe in 2012, but you were going to win in 2012 anyway. So it's
he said I misrepresented the party and that it did work. I did say it worked. I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm not sure. I think the Tea Party is wildly successful. Let's see, Kyle, where did you find that intelligence test actually measured? Oh, we'll get to that, Mark. Oh, I don't know the one Kyle's talking about. Oh, you already said that. And Zeke said, we have a lot of comments today. Good job, guys.
Good job, guys. Jesus. This is our Q&A episode, so take advantage of it while we're here.
We didn't talk about Chuck the Cook.
I like Chuck the Cook. That's a good name.
Chuck the Cook is good. And let's see. Yo, Jared Golden is flamed in his blue sky. I don't know who that is. God, do you know who that is? Who is Jared Golden?
I've heard of Jared Golden, but my brain goes to someone in the draft. So
he sounds like an athlete. I thought this sounds like that. I don't know why.
Pretty sure he's like a wide receiver.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know who Jared Golden is. Maybe I do. There's a lot of people I know that I don't know the name of. So like maybe if I heard some more about him. But what's Mark saying?
Mark said, I'm curious if people actually think that the party that shuts down the government looks good or not. I think it's a terrible idea for Republicans or Democrats. People don't like that. So historically, well, it's only been Republicans that shut down the government, at least in my lifetime. I've never seen the Democrats do it. Maybe when I was little.
I don't think the Democrats ever did it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe before.
Yeah. But as far as polling goes, it always hurts the Republicans to shut down the government, always. And they do it because like national polling, they don't really give a fuck about that because they give a fuck about what their base thinks and what their voting base thinks. And they love it. And it's worked well for them. Like they suffer in the short term, but in the long term, especially these days, I don't think anyone cares. I thought that, remember when the Republicans couldn't elect a speaker and they looked like a gaggle of chickens with their head cut off doing 40 votes? It doesn't matter. People don't really care anymore. So I think in the short term, people do blame the Republicans or the party who shuts down the government, but I don't think that you pay any long-term consequences for it.
Exactly. I mean, they haven't.
Yeah.
They have a trifecta right now. They did it many times. Yeah. And if one side is willing to shut down the government and the other side isn't, I'm sorry. I got to go with it's an effective strategy because it worked. Like Republicans are getting more of what they want right now than Democrats have ever gotten in my entire life. So say what you like. If I would love the Democrats to do everything the Republicans did, except with good policy. That would be what everyone should be coalescing around. And I feel like a lot of liberal moderate Democrats actually don't want that. I feel like a lot of liberal moderate Democrats would rather a Mitt Romney Republican be president and Republicans control the government than have a progressive version of Donald Trump right now controlling the government. And I'd actually be surprised if I was wrong about that.
No, I agree. Because, and their argument, and I get where they're coming from, in that if you have, let's say we had someone who was insane and as wild as Donald Trump and J.D. Vance running the Democrats, and they won and got in power, you're like, okay, well, we've given power to madmen here. Like, sure, they might agree with me philosophically, but they're creating a governmental system and a power structure in which anything goes. And if anything goes, everything eventually will. And they're afraid of that acceleration. I do understand that. I just think that the time for that is, but look, that's a risk we have to take because look what we have now. And Mark says, sorry, TJ, you seem to be portraying the Tea Party as just weird and conspiracy theorists. It was the smartest group. Well, there's no seam about it, Mark. I was portraying the Tea Party as weird conspiracy theorists, but being a weird conspiracy theorist and being effective are not mutually exclusive. I mean, sure, there were some smart ones, I guess. Newt Gingrich wasn't actually. Would I call Newt Gingrich Tea Party? Probably not. But they got shit done.
I think he was Tea Party at the time. I forget.
He predated the Tea Party. His power was like in the 90s, and Tea Party was like 20 years later. So he stepped down because
he was a bridge. He was a bridge.
Yeah. He would have been on
like Ted Cruz. Like, I really calling Ted Cruz like that smart of a guy. I'll say because we will compliment conservatives who we think are smart. You know, we compliment Ben Shapiro. Like, we think he's a pretty smart guy in terms of what he's doing. I would say that I have to say that Mike Johnson's a pretty smart guy. Like, I'd
put Ted Cruz there. I think Ted Cruz is pretty smart.
You put Ted Cruz in there because I feel like Ted Cruz seems like an idiot to me.
He acts like an idiot. Like, when he does these when he does commercials where he's standing with the construction workers and saying that they're never going to take my beer away, he's in on the joke. He is he goes all in on that. So there are legitimately stupid ones like Tommy Tuberville or that one guy Burcham. Louis Gohmert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, absolute idiots, double-digit IQs. But there are smart ones like John Kennedy, the Foghorn Leghorn guy. He uses that ridiculous accent that he wasn't raised with. I think that they're playing into it. So there are some, intelligent ones. They're the most evil ones, but I think they do exist. But the voting base, there's a reason the less education they have, the more likely you are to vote conservative. It is a inverse correlation, top to bottom, but. All right, let me get to
smart ones. Never address that. Like, it's weird how the smart conservatives never look around and go, "Wait a second, why are the rest of the smart people not with me on this one?" Because I know you're smart enough to recognize how dumb everyone else is, and it's crazy to me. Because when there's the dumb people on my side, I get mad at them. I don't like them. I don't like that they're on my side, but none of them are nearly as dumb as Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No.
Not a single
No.
person who's influential on the left is as dumb as Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No.
I think that the smart Republicans would agree with that, and it's confusing how they don't seem to be bothered by it.
Well, I mean, you're not going to insult your voting base, are you? I mean, you need the votes either way. Mark hitting a triple. We will compliment the smart conservatives, both of them. We are very unbiased. Mark, where the fuck did you get the idea we're unbiased? This show is called The Left Wing. What makes you think we are unbiased? Like you've been listening for a long time on the show right here. We make it very clear.
We call ourselves propagandists.
Yes, we are very unbiased. Unless you're quoting somebody else, maybe some other show was saying the shit. But no, there's nothing unbiased about my coverage whatsoever. By the way, everyone has bias. There's no such thing as an unbiased observer, an unbiased reporter. If John and I start talking about geography, we're going to discuss it from an anti-flat Earth bias. Okay, that's just true. All right, that's what's going to happen. So this idea that everyone shoots it completely neutral down the middle, that's shitty coverage, and it doesn't exist. So yeah, I don't know. That's all right. Let me show you what I was talking about earlier, John. I think you'll enjoy this. So I saw this Twitter thread from a writer for the Financial Times. I tried to find the article he wrote, but it was hidden behind a paywall. And I should have been surprised he wrote for the Financial Times, of course. But I found a copy of his thread here, and it's pretty fascinating. His name is John Byrne Murdoch. And his thread is human intelligence starting to decline? Recent results from major international tests show that the average... Hold on. Can people see this? You guys watching? Yeah, can you guys...
I can see it. So,
well, I know we can, but I want to make sure the audience can because we've had trouble with this before. I'll read it, but if they can't, let me know, John. Recent results from major international tests show that the average person's capacity to process information, use reasoning, and solve novel problems has been falling since around the mid-2010s. What should we make of this? So on this here chart, you can see that right around 2012, we start to see in teenagers drops in science, reading, and I like that it says maths, like the Europeans, the math with the S, that always makes me laugh. And then with adults, we have numeracy and literacy start to drop right around the same time. Nobody would argue that the fundamental biology of the human brain has changed in that time span. People's underlying intellectual capacity is surely undimmed, but there is growing evidence that the extent to which people can practically apply the capacity has been diminishing. For such an important topic, there's remarkably little long-term data on attention spans and focus, etc. But one source has consistently tracked this, the Monitoring the Future survey, which finds a steep rise in the percentage of people struggling to concentrate or learn new things. And then you see right around the same thing. It's a lot of correlation here that there's been a marked rise in the report of cognitive challenges, share of 18-year-olds who report particular issues in 5 of the last 30 days. So this, like when I saw this, I was kind of sad. I was like, oh man, people, because I thought the same thing as you, John, that when you look back through history, especially the last 100 years, there's just an increase in IQ, an increase in competency, an increase in knowledge. And I always used to do it to dunk on old people. But all of us, it turns out, from multiple nations, like first world nations that they did these surveys on, people have started declining in the last, 13 years or so. And my theory on this, and you probably already know where I'm going, we need to start treating smartphones like cigarettes. We need to get these things out of the hands of people and make them. I also want to implement IQ tests to own a smartphone. I think that you need to show a certain, because listen, I don't know about the rest of these folks. I've gotten a lot smarter since 2012, but I do agree. I think people have gotten dumber since then. It seems like this does explain both Trump elections. I got to say, it does go into mine there. But have you seen that?
So I do agree with the smartphone thing, and I think framing it as intelligence is not necessarily the most accurate way to say it. I think it's just capacity, because what has definitely changed with the smartphone. You can talk about attention spans and all of that, and I think that's oversimplifying a bit, but we have so much more shit being processed every single hour of every single day. And it's like, I know when I have a stressful day at work, I struggle to come home and make a TikTok or whatever. And it's not that I'm less intelligent than I was the day before. It's that day I got overloaded. And we know this. Like if you look at competitive sports, competitive games, or whatever it is, mental load is a very big thing, and we can only process so much without resting before we're able to operate at full capacity again. And I think that's more what we're seeing. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a general lack of critical thinking skills. I think it's a lack of capacity in the given moment that they're taking this test. Because I'm telling you, like, even today, I was just missing, I was overloaded. I was missing like words. I couldn't remember words that I use every single day. And it just happens. And I feel like we've all had this. And I feel like with the smartphones, it just exacerbates that. We're just constantly flooded, constantly inundated with 1,000 important things that our brain has to process. And you're right with the cigarettes thing. Like, I don't think we can go that far, but there needs to be some sort of, because like they are good. Like I think generally it's good to have a smartphone. It allows us to do so many different things, but the public health education around smartphones needs to be prioritized. I don't even know exactly how to do it, but I know that I have implemented many strict things on myself. Like, I'm putting it away. I'm not using it for so long because I have been able to recognize how damaging it is just for my ability to get through the day.
Have you heard of dumb phones? Have you heard of these things?
Like normal fucking phones before the smartphone?
No, yeah, I guess. But so what they is I've seen people that use these in the last couple of years. They look just like smartphones. Like a regular dumb phone from 15 years ago was like a flip phone or something like that. But this is a phone with a flat screen and everything. It looks just like a Samsung, Android, or an iPhone. But the only thing it can do is call and text. You can't go online with it. And a lot of people use it like, because they find like, does your phone mock you once a week, telling you how many hours a day you spent staring at this device? And it's like, oh, you spent an entire workday staring at your phone screen. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up, But people say it does help improve their attention. One thing that the article kind of mentions something about like how your focus is. If I can get this back up here again, it says that one argument is that this is downstream of the decline in reading. As people's information diet shifts from longer and more complex text to short snippets and from text to video, people's effective literacy levels decline. So you can see this started, boom. All of these are lining right up right around 2012. People have said that they read a lot less in their leisure time, and to reading hardly ever from reading almost every day. That dynamic is almost certainly part of what we're seeing here, but it's notable that we don't just see declines in literacy, but numeracy. I haven't seen the word numeracy before. It's a numeracy or numeracy. I might be not mispronouncing that wrong, which is a very funny article to be mispronouncing, and other forms of problem solving too. This suggests a broader erosion in people's capacity for mental focus and application. Some of these statistics are eye-opening. The share of adults in high-income countries who are unable to use mathematical reasoning when evaluating simple statements, or who struggle to integrate multiple bits of information from a piece of text, has climbed 25%. So, yeah, this is a big deal talking about the reading thing, which kind of strikes home to me because I always say that reading is kind of overrated. Or reading entire books is always overrated. Something because I read 1 billion books growing up, and honestly, in the last 10 years, I may have read 2 books, maybe 3 or 4. I just don't read books. I can't tell you the last time I did. It's been like 5 years, but everyone else out there, you guys need to be reading. All right. You guys need to brush up and everything. I love me some literature. I make 1,000 literary references every time we do the show. I'm good. I've reached critical mass on reading. The rest of you folks, come on, step your game up. You're dragging the numbers down here.
It is one of those things that's weird to talk about when like I can recognize I don't have the attention span for books that I used to. I used to be able to sit down and read a book for hours. Now I get to about like 45 minutes and I'm like, all right, I'm going to put this down and do something else.
Yeah.
I'm not even a worse reader. In fact, I probably read more now in terms of just reading words.
Yeah.
Ever have before. A lot of it's news, a lot of it's research, a lot of it is on screens. It's not books or whatever. That long form content I do struggle with more than I used to. So hand up 100% that has affected me. But I do think that there is like you said, a critical mass of reading that you have to get to in order to like that not to be a problem.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because I can sit down and gather research from 1,000 different places for hours
every time,
and consolidate and think and write and like do other things. It's the sitting down reading one single book that I struggle with. And that is new for me. That is not old me. Like back in like high school, I didn't have this fucking problem. It's more of an adult life thing. So like, I don't know. I kind of agree with it. I do think that people read more than ever. But it's the type of content that they're reading and their ability to interpret. Because I mean, how many fucking times do I write something so clearly worded to address specific counter arguments to it, and just everyone hits me with that counter argument that I clearly addressed in the thing.
Yeah,
I didn't write a fucking novel here. I wrote a fucking 240 character tweet. It's not like. So yeah, I don't know. It could be true, TJ. The convergence of all of these around the same time that smartphones became popularized. You can't look at that and go, well, there's nothing going on here. It's merely a coincidence.
Yeah, pretty suspicious. Like that many data points hitting the, but maybe it's a coincidence, but I think not. And the reading thing, yeah, it's kind of like one of the canon events of the show when we found out that the United States has a 79% literacy rate or something like that. And like, man, really 1 out of 5 people can't read. It's not that, you put the word dog in front of them, they can't read it, or cat, as you guys, Zeke, we got Wolfie here, but they can read the words, but can they comprehend it? That's really the issue. Like John, you said you'll put a simple tweet out and people will ask you. I don't know. I don't know how this has happened. I don't, because reading is pretty simple, and even teaching reading comprehension, I remember being pretty simple as a kid, and most people seem to get it. But there probably is something to what you're talking about, that kids need to read. They need to read a lot. And most people, well, not most people, but a lot of people aren't getting the proper levels of reading to actually understand how the English language fucking works. You see it every day in social. It's kind of like all those times you make fun of people where you'll write something like, I think waffles are great. And someone responds with, "Oh, so you're saying pancakes are awful? What's wrong with you?" Say, "No, that's not what I said. You're ironic. You're reading too much, ironically, into this by not understanding it." So, yeah, it's I don't know where to go for. And by the way, one of you guys commented that. Oh, you guys had a whole thread here. Jesus talking about how IQ tests are culturally biased. Yes, I was kidding about giving an IQ test to determine if you get a smartphone. I was joking. I mean, that's obviously not what I meant, but I would like a measure in which only people I consider smart could use smartphones. That's what I want. That's what I actually want. But of course, that wouldn't work. So yeah, I don't really mean that the state should issue an intelligence quota test and say, okay, you got a 105, you can get a smartphone now. That's not what I meant.
Yeah. So, is there any intelligence-related questions or statements that you wanted to make, or did you want to move on to other topics?
Oh, well, someone in here, I think Kyle wrote, IQ tests are useful in predicting things. They're great for intervention. Oh, that's not the one I was looking at. Well, anyway, but what intelligence and what it actually means, that what intelligence is like 12 different things, right? I remember thinking about how these standardized tests can be culturally biased, because when I heard it, I said, "Oh, come on, really? You give a math problem, how's that culturally biased?" or something like that. But I remember an example. I don't remember what test this was, but I was in high school or college. I don't remember, some standardized test, and the question was, in which of these environments are you most likely to find a Gila monster? And it said rainforest, desert, ocean, sky, or whatever. And it's desert. That's where you find a Gila monster. And I thought, you know what? The only reason I know what a Gila monster is because I remember taking the class like in 4th grade, and it was going over all these animals, and it's like, oh, this lizard here is a Gila monster. I've never heard anyone talk about Gila monsters. I haven't seen one on TV. Honestly, I was like in 4th or 5th grade. That is the only fucking reason I know what a Gila monster is. And I was like, that's a pretty unfair question, because not knowing what environment a Gila monster is contingent upon someone telling you what one is. And that applies in, like, if you go to take a IQ test in a different country, there's different norms and different phrases and different ways of doing math that you weren't taught. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you're dumber. It just means you weren't given the tools to solve that problem. So yeah, there are flaws with an IQ test, but like Kyle mentioned, it is good at predicting your success in certain fields, kind of like the ASVAB. The ASVAB for the military is very good at telling you what you're good at, but not necessarily a direct reflection of your intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, there's your knowledge capacity, how much data that you're able to have in your brain. There's your processing speed, how fast you can cycle through that data. There's communication intelligence, being able to synthesize data and communicate it in a different way. There's emotional intelligence, being able to read people and understand their needs without them having to tell you. All of these things, and on top of 1,000 other things, are very important for intelligence. And you can be intelligent in one area and not another. But yeah, most people don't view it that way, unfortunately. What are you pulling up here, TJ?
Yeah, your spatial awareness is even part
That's
of your
another one.
intelligence.
Yeah, I suck at that. I'm really bad at spatial awareness.
All right. So another thing that happened in the news, I'm sure you guys saw that the Trump administration has rounded up a bunch of Venezuelan immigrants who they suspected of gang activity.
Wait, no, TJ, I want to correct you. They have rounded up a couple hundred people. They say are Venezuelan immigrants. They could be fucking anyone.
Yeah. And a lot of them were suspected of gang activity because they had certain tattoos, and they had no trial. They had nothing. It's like, all right, you guys, we think you committed a crime. We're not sending you to court. We're not even going to charge you with anything. We're just going to deport you to El Salvador, to this dictator who's promised to put you guys in labor camps or some shit. And this is a video that Donald Trump shared. And I don't know if you guys can read what it says there, but Donald Trump wrote, these are the monsters sent into our country by crooked Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats. How dare they? Thank you, El Salvador, and in particular, President Bukele, I don't know how to pronounce his name, for your understanding of this horrible situation, which was allowed to happen in the United States because of incompetent Democrat leadership. We will not forget. And this is a video of the Trump administration flexing on him sending folks to El Salvador. I'm gonna jump around a little bit.
César Eliseo Sotomayor.
This video is 3 minutes long. It is a 3-minute long video that is like fascist porn. It's hard to hyperbolize what's going on here, but this is straight up. We are the empire. Submit to us. We will capture you, throw you on a plane with no trial because of a tattoo you have. We won't charge you with a crime. We'll deport you to another country, a third world nation that's vowed to put you in prison labor camps, have men show up in bulletproof vests and balaclavas, throw you to the ground on your knees and shave your head and your beard. And Republicans love it. They love it. You can imagine what the comments are like on that video of fuck around and find out. Trump is bringing law and order back into the United States with zero shame. So that's why I say you can't play nice with these folks, because they'll talk about free speech and freedom all day long. But when it comes to hurting and punishing and terrorizing people, they see, anyone paper bag, colored skin or darker, they are all on board with it. They fucking love it. So you hadn't seen that, John. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I hadn't seen that video, but that video doesn't tell me anything I didn't already know, right?
Yeah.
First of all, what you're saying, it's fascist porn. It really is. It's not like there's substance to that video. You're just watching people be dehumanized.
Yep.
And whether you think that should happen to them or not, taking pleasure in it is fucking disgusting.
It is.
Fucking abhorrent. If they personally hurt you and your family, I still think it's
bit much. bit much, right?
It's a little queasy to like
Yeah.
take pleasure in someone else's pain, but I get it. I get it. But if you're just a random person, you've never been hurt by any of these people before, and you're watching that video with the weird fucking like house trap remix of fucking Down with the Sickness, and like watching these people just be like fucking move through the streets, and you're getting pleasure from that, like what's the fuck is wrong with you? Second of all, I don't know how exactly to state this, but the train has left the station for me. Like either at this point, either you are anti-Trump, or I can't get along with you.
Right? Yeah.
Because again, like it's hard to hyperbolize. We have a president who is taking random people off the streets, not telling us who they are, sending them to El Salvador. Which, by the way, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't even make. How can you deport someone to another fucking country? That doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. Yeah. And then on top of this, like, there's no trial.
Nope.
There's no due process.
There's no fucking charge.
We used to agree not too long ago that like due process was important, right? Like this is part of the Bill of fucking Rights. And he's just saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I'm having people comment on my shit going, oh, they're illegal immigrants. They don't get citizens' rights. And no, it's not a fucking citizens' right. Due process is for everyone. Because how the fuck do you know they're not citizens? How do you know if there hasn't been a due process to determine whether they are guilty of innocent? We don't know who they are. And like, we've already seen multiple U.S. citizens detained by ICE, handcuffed, thrown in vans. Like, we have seen mistakes happen. If you're going to say Donald Trump is the sole arbiter of who is guilty or innocent in this country, and if he determines you're guilty, that you get sent to an El Salvadorian prison, which is rife with human rights abuses and countless inmate deaths, that's fucked up.
Yep.
To me, as someone who has family who is Hispanic, and as someone who vocally criticizes Trump on the internet very loudly, I'm personally worried for the safety of me and my family. That is not a hyperbole. It is not an exaggeration. I've had to have conversations about where the documents are located, about escape plans if we need it. And like, I don't want to be fucking doing this. But it's now the world we live in. And I'm not seeing nearly enough Republicans defect over this. I'm barely seeing any at all. And it is devastating to watch. Like, if you continue to support this, we can't be friends anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's a threat of violence against me and my family. Again, not a hyperbole. I don't mean that in the leftist hyperbole where everything is violence. No, literally he's taking people and sending them to an El Salvadorian prison. And we don't know who they are. And he's doing it in direct defiance of court orders. Like, again, and he's using the Alien Enemies Act, which the last time we used it, we put 60,000 fucking American citizens in goddamn internment camps, and 2,000 of them died. Like, you can't support that. You're not allowed to support that and still be welcome in my fucking society.
Well, John, you don't understand. Like, of course, we know that we Republicans, we conservatives, and we Trump supporters, we know that this is a bad look, and maybe there's a human rights violation or two. But you got to understand, we voted for Trump because he's great for the economy. He's going to save the economy. And don't you see? Don't you see how well we're doing economically in the United States with the tariffs and all that? Their defense of it, like there isn't one. But it's one of those, like, a lot of this is happening less and less. I will say this is happening less and less. Republicans and conservatives used to be embarrassed for these viewpoints. They used to, couch it in euphemism and say it and be evasive when it comes to this. But now that Trump has gotten rid of euphemism and that he's just doing the shit that they think about and beat off to think, wishing they could do, they've given them license to be all for it. Because I guarantee if you took a poll amongst conservatives or Republicans, what would you think? 90% of them would see nothing wrong with that video at all. Like, oh, yeah, this is fine. And John brought up a good point that a judge, like a court, ordered Trump not to do that. He's like, no, actually, that's against the law because it is. Trump did it anyway. He's like, what are you going to do about it? And nothing. They aren't going to do anything about it. Like Trump, actually, like, once again, the we the people folks, the 1776, really proud of defeating George the Third crowd. They're nowhere to be found. Like they think it's awesome. They think it's fantastic.
You will never, ever, ever see me. I don't care who it is. I don't care what they did. You will never see me advocating for sending my political fucking enemies into El Salvadorian prisons without due process. You will never see me I think Donald Trump is a fascist piece of shit. I would give him goddamn due process. I don't care if you're a literal fucking Nazi white supremacist. I will give you due process. I will respect your freedom of speech. I might not respect what you are saying, but I'm not going to send you to a fucking El Salvadorian prison because you said it. And the right just seems to capitulate instantly. It's really been, and there's a lot of optimism that I have for certain things. I am seeing real movement. I don't want to go full doomer, but it just, the response I'm seeing ain't good enough. Like I was one of the people who are like, yeah, America isn't actually fascist. It's what it seems like America's maybe actually fucking fascist.
Yeah.
Like, to respond to what Kyle asks, has a U.S. citizen been sent to El Salvador? I don't know, Kyle. I don't know because I don't know who was sent to El Salvador. We know that U.S. citizens have been detained by ICE. We know they've been handcuffed. We know they've been thrown in bans. I can send fucking examples. We don't know who's been sent to El Salvador. We have no fucking.
One guy, I know there's 3 names at least that are out because their relatives are speaking out for it. One guy was almost sent there. They arrested him with a bunch of other folks, and the only reason he wasn't taken away because he happened to have his ID on him, and could prove he was an American citizen, and so they had to let him go. Well, they did, but I mean, if he didn't have it, who knows what would have happened? And that's a good point you brought up, John.
Yeah, and TJ, you're telling me that Four Seasons landscaping guy?
Yeah, they're gonna
be like making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and no American citizen being sent. Go fuck yourself. You're not genuine if you believe Donald Trump is the guy that's going to make sure everything is by the book. I want them to have more power to do this.
Yeah, and also you said the right capitulated. Is capitulation the word you want to use? Because I think that they're on board with it. I think they're complicit more than capitulate. I don't know.
Maybe I'm being optimistic.
I think so. Yeah, they love this shit, man. You've been on Twitter.
Obviously, like the whole fascist porn thing that we're talking about earlier. Oh yeah, a lot of Americans really actually fucking like that shit. No doubt in my mind about it. I don't think that a lot of the people who are generally supporting this have a good understanding of exactly what is happening. I kind of have to believe that. I have to believe that half the country isn't on board with burning the Bill of Rights.
Do you remember that poll we saw in October saying that 54% of Americans were on board with mass deportation?
I think it's manufactured consent, TJ. I don't think it is what they, in their heart of hearts, believe if you state everything in plain English to them without, the propaganda filtering through their brains. I genuinely, if you were to ask the random person, hey, do you think that, people should get due process? They'll say yes. I wish I could live a day in the life of a normie Republican right now. Live in their media ecosystem, live with their information bubble, and make this judgment. Because, as I said, if you're talking to me and you are fully aware of what is going on, you support it, I can't continue to exist with you. I just can't, because again, these are real human lives. Again, this is personal. This is now a personal attack. Have you seen Mickey 17, TJ?
No.
Excellent movie. Highly recommend. Everyone go see it. It's fucking
Mickey
fantastic.
17.
It's Bong Joon-ho, Parasite director, also directed Snowpiercer. But there's a scene in it where this guy is talking to his friend. He's got a fucking chainsaw and he's been sent to kill him. And the premise of Mickey 17 is this guy, he dies and gets reprinted with a 3D printing for humans machine. And he's like, if I don't rip you to pieces with this chainsaw, they're going to kill me. So you're going to get reprinted. So please please be okay. And he's begging him to be okay with the fact that he's about to dismember him with the chainsaw. And I can't help but seeing, and I know that obviously that there are 1,000 different groups throughout history that have had this happen to them.
Yeah.
But I can't help but seeing that in the current American dynamic right now, where it's they're begging for consent and forgiveness to harm us. And it really, really is just fucking slimy as shit, TJ. It's slimy as fucking shit. That like there's the thing, they won't even go full bore. They won't say fuck you, we want to do this to you and you're gonna have to deal with it. They start crying when we tell them that they're evil fascists for this.
I know.
Like
yeah.
and that like makes me want to strangle them more than anything else.
Yeah. Look, I have a lot less confidence in the empathy and, love and rationality and human kindness of the average American. Maybe because I was an adult throughout the entire war on terror, just watching how the humanity, you don't have to go back that far. Look how average people talk about Palestinians and how, oh, wow, they elected Hamas 25 years ago. So clearly everyone there deserves to die. I mean, you've heard this. You've heard these exact words. They get what they have coming, They would never say it for, oh, yeah, sure. There's a 1% chance that there's a terrorist hiding underneath that school. That school's got to go. I don't care if the kids are there. The kids should have thought of that before their parents elected Hamas. People who defended Gitmo, people who will defend the existence of Gitmo to this very day, people who said that we should turn the Middle East into a glass parking lot. Folks saying that, T-shirts people would wear saying, I see your jihad and I'll raise you a crusade. I mean, like how bloodthirsty everyone was after 9/11 for the next 15 years. Unapologetic rage and hatred and the desire to murder people. I don't think it ever went away. It's just shifted to something else now. They had to find somewhere to put it. And they'll tell you the war on terror was bad because, everyone kind of realized it now. A lot like people 10 years from now are going to say that, oh, clearly that whole Trump stuff was bad, but they're not admitting it now. And I don't really care if they're wrestling with it or whatever. This is just like their actions are what actually matters. I don't know.
I think something that we've talked about in this show before is the reason for my optimism, or at least the reason I feel so disillusioned right now, because we've said it many times. People don't believe in human rights. They believe in citizens' rights.
Yes.
And it felt to me like due process was one of them that they believed in, that people in America, even if they aren't a citizen, have a right to due process. I thought that we all believed in that. And it's seeming like we don't. And it really is a struggle for me, TJ, because I do fundamentally believe that if you were to ask in 2015, your average Republican, do you believe that non-citizens deserve the right to due process? They would have emphatically said yes, and they would have genuinely believed it. And I feel like they have been pulled from that. And, what's real, what's not, doesn't matter. If you support this now, go fuck yourself. But it feels like if they were able to be programmed that quickly, they can be reprogrammed that quickly. Does that make sense? Are you
I disagree with your premise. I don't think they would have said that in 2015. Yeah. I don't. I mean, and it's not a one-to-one comparison, but Gitmo is what I think of the most. Is that the Guantanamo Bay? Now, granted, they weren't arrested on American
They weren't
soil.
Americans. They weren't here. I agree with you, but we also recognize that people treat people in other countries very differently than they treat people here.
Well, but I was going to say, but they were on American soil at Gitmo. And that the argument people were making, like, hey, fine, you arrested them as foreign combatants overseas, but they're here now.
Are they on American? It was Gitmo. I always thought Gitmo was in another country, and that's why they would get away with it.
No, we own the land. It is the only part of Cuba that we own. It is American soil. I mean, it's like, being in Puerto Rico or Guam or something. Like, we control the territory. But it is a U.S. facility. It's a U.S. military base. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you have a U.S. military base.
Yeah, most Americans don't even think Puerto Rico is fucking America.
I know. That's a great point. For a lot of them don't know that's actually part of the United States. But do Puerto Ricans have the same constitutional rights as you? No, they would say no. They actually don't. Because they don't know how constitutional rights work. I just don't think. Well, anyway, the argument with Gitmo was like, hey, they're on American soil, so you kind of have to give them rights. No, we don't have to be. And the reason was they were caught as foreign combatants on the battlefield. And so you can give them a military tribunal and hold them forever with no charge at all. That's kind of the way the government got around it. And we can torture them. And Americans didn't care. I mean, some people did, but millions didn't. I don't think for 1 second those folks would say, I mean, look how this anchor baby thing, they've been complaining about since I was a kid, where they say, we don't care if you're born on American soil. If you came here as an illegal immigrant, your kid shouldn't be an American. So I just don't think that's the case. I think that they've kind of always been this way. They've just given more license to publicly say it now. All right, Zeke.
Maybe. We will see, TJ. But anyway, that is we are coming down to the last hour here. Kyle did say, I'm sorry, Zeke did say that Puerto Ricans are hot. Very important question. TJ, do you agree that Puerto Ricans are hot?
Listen, Zeke, people's constitutional rights and their human rights are not determined by how attractive they are. All right.
Well,
otherwise,
yes, they are, TJ.
Well,
yes, they are.
Otherwise, I would have all the rights.
We're like eventually, fucking Ronaldo wasn't any of those dudes.
Oh, wait,
there wasn't any hot women on that fucking bus, TJ, were there?
No, Ronaldo, isn't he like Portuguese or I don't know, Brazilian? I don't know.
He's not Dominican.
I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, we believe in human rights for even the uggos here. That's what we think. So all right.
Anyway, thank you guys very much. This has been the Q&A episode of The Left Wing. TJ seems to have something to say before I actually wrap up the show.
Our show is tomorrow, not Thursday this week. We will be joined by Tennessee Brando tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 6:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always like having Tennessee Brando on. He's a cool dude. I love his accent. I make fun of Southern accents a lot. I was born in the South, so I'm allowed to do that. I make fun of Southern accents a lot because the draw and everything, but his is really cool. I really love it. So I can't wait to have him on the show tomorrow.
All right. Bye, folks.
Later, guys. Wow, that was a fun episode.